crystal chandeliers sparkled above, throwing golden light across the white tablecloths. It was a place where the wealthy came to be seen in, where people like Maya worked quietly in the background. Maya adjusted the tray in her hands. She had been working here for 6 months, serving rich businessmen and their families. She had learned to smile, even when they ignored her or spoke down to her. Today was just another shift. Or so she thought. The front doors swung open, and everyone seemed to straighten in their chairs. A tall man in an expensive black suit walked in, his silver cufflinks catching the light. Raymond Cole, billionaire, investor, a man whose name appeared on business magazines and news channels. Some called him a genius. Others called him ruthless. Maya had heard enough stories to know he was not someone you wanted to upset. Raymond walked to his reserved table, his 2 business partners following. The manager hurried over to greet him, bowing slightly. Maya stood near the entrance, waiting for instructions. She hoped she wouldn't be the one to serve him. She preferred quiet tables. Not high-pressure ones like this, but luck wasn't on her side. "Maya," the manager whispered, "take care of Mr. Cole's table, and don't make any mistakes." Her hands tightened around her order pad. "Yes, sir." She walked to the table, keeping her smile polite. "Good afternoon, gentlemen. May I start you with something to drink?" Raymond barely looked at her, his eyes already on his phone. One of his partners ordered tea. The other asked for coffee. Raymond muttered, "Sparkling water." "And make it quick." Maya moved fast. She brought their drinks within minutes, placing them carefully on the table. But as she poured the water into Raymond's glass, a single drop slipped from the bottle, landing on his suit jacket. It was nothing, barely noticeable. But Raymond froze. His head turned slowly toward her, eyes narrowing. The quiet in the restaurant deepened. "Do you have any idea," he said in a low, sharp voice, "how much this suit costs?" Maya's heart pounded. "I'm so sorry, sir." Sorry." His voice rose, cutting her off. "Do you think sorry fixes carelessness? Do you? Think people like me have time for mistakes from people like you?" Every word was loud enough for nearby tables to hear. Guests lowered their forks. A couple in the corner stopped talking altogether. The sound of a glass being set down somewhere in the distance echoed in the stillness. Maya felt the heat rising in her face. She was used to rude comments, but this was different. It wasn't just about the suit, it was about her. Her place in this world. It's the unspoken line between him and her. She could have looked down, she could have stayed quiet. Always. What most people did when someone like Raymond Cole yelled at them. But something inside her refused to shrink away. She straightened her back and met his eyes. Her voice was calm, almost gentle, but it carried across the room. "Sir," she said, "my worth is not decided by how much your suit costs." For a second, it was like the air itself froze. The waiters by the counter stared. The couple in the corner exchanged a look. Even Raymond's business partners shifted in their seats. Glancing between him and Maya, Raymond blinked as if the words had caught him off guard. His mouth opened slightly, but nothing came out at first. He covered it quickly with a smirk, giving a short, cold laugh. "You've got some nerve," he said finally. Maya didn't answer. She just stepped back, collected the empty tray from the table beside them, and walked away. Her head held high as she disappeared into the staff area. The quiet chatter in the restaurant slowly returned, but it wasn't the same as before. Guests were still stealing glances at Raymond's table, whispering to each other. Raymond sat still for a moment, staring at his water glass. The drop on his suit had already dried. But something else, something in her words, stuck with him in the kitchen. Maya's hands were still trembling, though her face remained composed. Another waitress rushed over. "Maya, are you crazy? That's Mr. Cole. You could lose your job." "Maybe," Maya said quietly, But I won't lose my dignity. Back at his table, Raymond ignored his meal. His partners tried to change the subject, talking about business deals and upcoming meetings, but his mind was elsewhere. He remembered something long ago when he had been on the other side of power, standing in a cheap suit, serving food to people who never learned his name. And now, the first time in years, someone had looked him in the eye and reminded him of that. The afternoon went on, but the air in the restaurant never felt quite the same. Something had shifted, though no one could name it yet. And for Raymond Cole, it was only the beginning. The next morning, the sun rose over the city, but Maya's heart felt heavy. She stood in front of her small bathroom mirror, tying her hair back. Her brother Samuel was still asleep in the next room, his textbooks piled on the table. He had exams soon, and Maya was working double shifts to pay for his school fees. Her job wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. And yesterday, she might have thrown it away. She replayed the moment in her mind, the way the entire restaurant had gone silent. The look on Raymond Cole's face when she told him her worth wasn't decided by his suit. It hadn't been planned. The words just came out. But once they did, she didn't regret them. Still, powerful men didn't forget moments like that, and they rarely forgave them at the restaurant. Whispers started before she even stepped inside. "That's her," a busboy murmured. "Is she fired yet?" A waitress whispered back. "I heard the manager got a call from Mr. Cole's office." Another added. Maya kept her head high, walking to the kitchen to collect her apron. She wouldn't give anyone the satisfaction of seeing her scared in the dining area. The memory of yesterday's scene was still fresh. Some customers were almost hoping they'd see more drama. Staff members avoided talking about it openly, but their eyes followed her every move in a quiet corner of the city. Raymond Cole sat in his glass-walled office at the top of a skyscraper. His assistant handed him a folder with the day's schedule, but his mind wasn't on meetings or numbers. He kept hearing her voice. "My worth is not decided by how much your suit costs." It was such a simple sentence, but it had cut through all the noise in his head. For years, he had been surrounded by people who either feared him or wanted something from him. Nobody spoke to him like that, not in public, not in private. He should have been angry. Instead, he felt unsettled and curious. Back at the restaurant, the lunch rush had just begun when Raymond's shadow fell across the doorway. The manager spotted him instantly and nearly tripped over his own feet, rushing to greet him. "Mr. Cole, what an honor to have you back so soon. Would you like your usual table?" Raymond's eyes scanned the room. They stopped when they found Maya carrying a tray of steaming soup to a table. She didn't notice him at first. She was focused on not spilling a single drop. "I'll take that one," Raymond said, pointing to the table right next to hers. The manager blinked. "Of course, sir." Maya only realized he was there when she turned around and nearly collided with him. Her breath caught for just a second, but she quickly regained control. "Good afternoon, sir," she said evenly. "Sparkling water." He studied her for a moment before nodding. "Yes, and when you have a moment, I'd like to speak to you." Her brow furrowed, but she gave no other reaction. "Of course." 5 minutes later, she returned with his water. He gestured to the empty chair across from him. "Sit." Maya hesitated. "I'm working." "I'll pay for your time," he replied. The surrounding tables fell silent. Staff members pretended to be busy while leaning just close enough to hear. She sat down, her posture straight. "What do you want to discuss, Mr. Cole?" He took a sip of water, then set the glass down. "That sentence you said yesterday. Do you say things like that often?" Her eyes didn't flinch. "Only when someone needs to hear it." "Do you know who I am?" he asked. "Yes," she said simply. "And it doesn't change the fact that you shouted at someone for a drop of water." Raymond leaned back in his chair, almost amused. You're not afraid of losing your job? Maya's lips curved into the faintest smile. Fear doesn't pay my rent, Mr. Cole. Work does. If you take this job, I'll find another. He tilted his head, studying her. Most people would have apologized 100 times by now. She wasn't bending. She wasn't begging. Where are you from? He asked suddenly. Southside, 2 buses from here, and your family. My parents passed. It's just me and my younger brother. He's in school. I work to keep him there. Raymond's gaze lingered on her face, trying to read her like a business deal. But this wasn't business. This was something else, something he couldn't quite name. Finally, he said, yesterday, you made me remember something I had forgotten. She waited, silent. I wasn't always rich. There was a time I worked in a diner like this, got yelled at for things smaller than a drop of water. His eyes darkened. I swore I'd never be treated like that again. Somewhere along the way, I became the one doing the yelling. For the first time, Maya saw a flicker of humanity in him. Not the billionaire on magazine covers. Not the man who thought he was untouchable. Just a man remembering who he used to be. I came here to... They didn't know what had just happened between them, but they could feel it. Something had shifted again. And this time was only the second step in a story that was far from over. The kitchen smelled of roasted garlic and fresh bread. But the air was thick with tension. Maya stepped inside after finishing her conversation with Raymond Cole. She felt the weight of dozens of eyes on her. A busboy pretended to stack plates, but kept sneaking glances. 2 waitresses whispered near the coffee machine, their voices low but sharp. That's the second time she's talked to him, one said. She's either the bravest person here or the stupidest, the other replied. Maya ignored them and walked to the prep counter. She tied her apron tighter and started slicing bread for the next table. But the whispers didn't stop. Her friend, Carla, waitress with warm brown eyes and a quick smile, slipped beside her. Eh? What's going on between you and Mr. Cole? Carla asked quietly. Nothing, Maya said, keeping her voice steady. He just wanted to talk. Carla raised an eyebrow. Talk? Billionaires don't come back to a place like this just to talk to a waitress. Maya kept her eyes on the bread. Then maybe I'm the first. At that moment, the manager stormed in. His face was red, his tie slightly loose. Maya, he barked, in my office. Now? Carla shot her a worried look. Maya wiped her hands and followed him. The office was small, cluttered with receipts and an old computer. The manager closed the door, his voice sharp. Do you have any idea what you're doing? This is Raymond Cole. He owns more buildings than you've had birthdays. You can't just talk to him like you're equals. Maya crossed her arms. I spoke to him with respect, and he spoke back. You embarrassed him in front of customers yesterday? You think people like him forget that? Maya's eyes didn't waver. Maybe they don't forget, but maybe they listen. The manager stared at her for a long moment, then sighed. Just keep your head down, okay? I don't want trouble. She left without replying. Meanwhile, in the dining area, Raymond was still sitting at his table, watching the way the staff moved around him. He noticed how some of them avoided his gaze, how others whispered behind their hands. He had seen that look before, back when he was the one wearing an apron. It was the look of people who believed nothing they said mattered. But then there was Maya. She didn't lower her eyes. She didn't bend her voice. She wasn't afraid to be heard. The lunch rush ended, and Maya returned to the floor with a tray of empty glasses. She passed Raymond's table. He stood. I'll walk you out, he said casually. She frowned. I'm still on shift. I'll talk to your manager. Before she could protest, the manager appeared, smiling nervously. Maya, Mr. Cole would like to speak to you outside. Take 10 minutes. Maya set the tray down and followed him through the glass doors into the sunlight. The street outside was busy, cars rushing past, but somehow it felt quieter than the dining room. Raymond turned to her. "Do you know what people are saying about you in there?" She shrugged. "People talk. They always will. They think you're risking your job." "Maybe I am," she said, meeting his gaze. "But I'm not risking myself. That's more important." He studied her for a moment, as if trying to decide if she was fearless or just stubborn. You know why I came back today? Guessing it's not for the water," she replied. A small smile tugged at his lips. "I came back because you reminded me of a promise I made to myself a long time ago. To never let anyone make me feel small." Somewhere along the way, I started doing to others what I swore I'd never accept. Maya didn't say anything. She let the silence do its work. "You work hard," he continued. "I can see it. And you don't ask for anything you haven't earned." "That's right," she said simply. He slipped a card from his pocket and held it out. "Call me. I might have an opportunity for you." She didn't take it right away. "Why me?" "Because you're not afraid to look me in the eye," he said. "Most people are." Finally, she took the card, sliding it into her apron pocket. "If I call, it'll be because I choose to, not because I owe you." "That's exactly why I want you to call," he replied. Back inside, the whispers started again as soon as they saw her return. Did he offer her a job? Maybe he's trying to buy her silence. Or maybe he respects her, Carla said, stepping in. Maya just walked to the kitchen, her expression unreadable. She didn't tell anyone what he'd said or what was written on the card. Some things were better kept to herself, but deep down, she knew one thing: something was shifting. Not just for her, but for him too. And in a world where people like her were usually invisible, that was rare. Very rare. That night, as she lay in bed, she turned the card over in her hand. The name was bold, the phone number printed in gold ink. She placed it on the table beside her and closed her eyes. Tomorrow would come soon enough, and with it, a choice that could change everything. 2 days passed. Maya went to work as usual, tying her apron and greeting customers with the same calm smile she had worn for months. She kept busy, moving between tables, clearing plates, and pretending that the card Raymond Cole had given her wasn't sitting in her kitchen drawer at home. She hadn't called him. She wasn't sure if she ever would. The restaurant was quieter. That morning, the soft hum of conversation mixed with the clink of silverware. Maya was serving a family at a corner table when Carla hurried toward her. Eyes wide. "You won't believe who just booked the entire restaurant," she whispered. Maya didn't have to ask. She already knew. Mr. Cole. Carla nodded quickly. "The manager says it's for a special meeting. He wants every table perfect, every glass spotless. And," she lowered her voice, "he asked for you personally." Maya frowned. "For what?" Carla shrugged. "Guess you'll find out." An hour later, the restaurant was cleared of customers. The curtains were half drawn to give the room a more private feel. Fresh flowers were placed on every table. The staff moved quickly, polishing silverware and checking plates twice. Then the doors opened, and Raymond Cole walked in. He wasn't alone. 2 men in dark suits followed him, carrying sleek black cases. Behind them came a tall woman in a red dress, one of his lawyers, Maya guessed. But Raymond's eyes were already searching the room. They landed on her. "Maya," I said, with a small smile. "Good to see you." She kept her tone professional. "Welcome back, Mr. Cole. Where would you like to sit?" "Anywhere you're serving," he replied. The manager quickly directed him to a table in the center of the room. Maya set a menu in front of him, but he didn't look at it. Instead, he leaned back in his chair. "Do you know why I asked for you?" he asked. "I'm guessing it's not because I pour water well," she said evenly. That faint smile returned. I respect people who stand their ground, and I've been thinking, maybe I need more people like that around me. She crossed her arms lightly. You mean employees? I mean leaders, he corrected. People who aren't afraid to tell me when I'm wrong. Before she could respond, he gestured to the men with the black cases. They opened them, revealing a sleek tablet and several documents. The staff nearby pretended not to watch, but their curiosity was impossible to hide. Raymond slid the tablet toward her. This, he said, is a proposal. I'm opening a new hotel downtown. I need someone to run the guest services department. Someone who knows how to deal with people, not just rich clients, but everyone. Maya blinked, caught off guard. You don't even know if I'm qualified? I know you have courage. Skills can be taught. Integrity can't. The manager, standing nearby, looked like he might faint. He stepped forward quickly. Mr. Cole, with respect, Maya is one of our waitresses. She doesn't have management experience. Raymond didn't even glance at him. Neither did I once. The room went quiet. Maya stared at the tablet, then at him. Why me? Because, he said, leaning forward, you remind me of the man I wanted to be before I got lost in all this. He gestured to his suit, his watch, and that was unexpected. It was a rainy afternoon when Maya's phone rang. The number flashing on the screen wasn't familiar, but the golden black card sitting in her drawer told her exactly who it was. She hesitated, then answered, Hello? Maya. Came the deep, calm voice. It's Raymond Cole. I'd like to see you. Today, her first instinct was to say no. But something in his tone was different, not the sharp command of a billionaire used to getting his way, but something quieter, almost humanware. She asked, not the restaurant. I'll send a car. An hour later, Maya found herself stepping into the warm, polished interior of a black sedan. The driver said nothing as the city slipped past outside the tinted windows. Eventually, they pulled up in front of a tall glass tower, the headquarters of Cole Industries. The lobby was marble and steel, with ceilings so high it felt like the air itself was richer here. A receptionist guided her into a private elevator that took her straight to the top floor. Raymond was waiting in his office, the city stretching out behind him through floor 2 ceiling windows. Thank you for coming, he said. I thought. It was time you knew. Why I noticed you. They sat at a long wooden table, far from the noise of assistants and phones. A pot of tea steamed between them. I wasn't born into this, Raymond began, his voice low. When I was your brother's age, I lived in a tiny apartment above a laundromat. My father left when I was 8. My mother worked 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. Maya listened silently. His voice didn't have the arrogance she'd seen before. It was steady, almost fragile. I worked my first job at 14. A diner, cheap uniforms, greasy floors, long hours. I was just a busboy, but I thought, maybe if I worked hard enough, people would see me, respect me. He paused, looking out at the city. One night, a man in a perfect suit came in with his friends. I accidentally dropped a fork near his shoe. Kay shouted at me for 3 minutes straight. Called me clumsy, called me worthless. People laughed, and no one stood up for me. His hand tightened slightly around the teacup. That night, I made a promise. I told myself I'd get rich enough that no one could ever treat me like that again. Maya finally spoke. And you did? Yes, but somewhere along the way, I stopped realizing. I'd become that man in the suit. His eyes met hers, and for a moment, there was no billionaire and waitress, just a people who understood what it meant to be humiliated in front of strangers. When you said those words to me, my worth is not decided by how much your suit costs. I heard my younger self again. I saw the boy I used to be, and I hated what I'd become. Maya leaned back in her chair, letting the weight of his confession settle. She had expected excuses, maybe even a rehearsed apology to win her over. But this felt real. "You came back to the restaurant because of that?" she asked. "I came back," he said, "because I didn't want you to walk away thinking your courage went unnoticed. And because I wanted to remember how to listen." He poured her a cup of tea. "I'm not offering you charity, Maya. I'm offering you a chance. You have the same fire I had when I started. But you also have something I didn't: compassion. You could lead people, not just manage them." Maya looked down at the steam curling up from the cup. "You don't even know me." "I know enough," he said simply. For a moment, the only sound was the rain against the glass windows. Maya thought of Samuel, of the long hours she spent balancing trays and avoiding insults from customers who thought their money made them better. She thought of how Raymond had gone from being that boy in the diner to one of the most powerful men in the city. But she also thought of how power had changed him and how he was now trying to change again. "Why? Tell me all this," she asked. "Because," he said, "I think people like us only get stronger when we remember where we came from, and I need someone to remind me." She met his gaze. "If I took this job, it wouldn't be because you're rich. It would be because I believe I could make a difference." "That's exactly why I want you to take it," he said. The meeting ended without a signature or a handshake deal. Raymond walked her to the elevator himself, something she suspected he rarely did for anyone. As the doors closed, she saw him standing there, not as the untouchable billionaire from the magazines, but as a man who had once been shouted at for dropping a fork. That night, back in her small apartment, Maya lay awake, thinking about his story. It was strange she still didn't fully trust him, but she could see the truth in his eyes when he spoke about the past. And maybe, just maybe, they were more alike than she had ever imagined 3 days past. Maya kept going to work at the restaurant, pretending life was the same. But it wasn't. Ever since Raymond had told her his story, his voice had stayed in her head. She hadn't given him an answer about the hotel job. She wasn't even sure if she wanted to. The offer was tempting, but stepping into his world felt like walking into a storm beautiful from a distance. Dangerous, up close. That Friday evening, the restaurant was busy. Couples dined under the glow of chandeliers, the sound of laughter mixing with clinking glasses. Maya moved quickly between tables, balancing trays and delivering orders with practiced grace. Then the front doors opened. Raymond Cole walked in, not with business partners or bodyguards this time, but alone. He was dressed simply, in a dark sweater and jeans. Even so, heads turned. The manager nearly dropped a stack of menus. "Mr. Cole, what an unexpected visit." Raymond's eyes found Maya. "Is there somewhere we can talk?" he asked. She hesitated, glancing at the tables, still waiting for service. Before she could reply, the manager stepped in. "Maya, take your break. Now." They stepped outside into the cool evening air. The street was lit by shop windows and the glow of passing cars. For a moment, neither spoke. Finally, Raymond said, "I'm not here to pressure you. I just want to make my offer clear." "You already made it," Maya said, crossing her arms. "A hotel job." "This isn't just a hotel job," he said firmly. "It's a starting point. I'll fund your training, give you a mentor, and in a year, if you've proven yourself, you'll be in charge of guest services for the entire property. That's a position that comes with real authority and real pay." She frowned. "Why me?" "Because," he said, "you've already shown me you can stand your ground in a room full of people who expect you to bow your head. You spoke the truth when everyone else stayed silent. That's leadership." She looked away. "And what do you get out of this?" "A chance to feel like the good guy." His jaw tightened slightly, but his tone stayed calm. What I get is someone in my company who won't be afraid to tell me when I'm wrong. Maya almost smiled. That sounds risky. It is, he admitted. But I've learned that surrounding yourself with yes people only makes you weaker. They began walking down the sidewalk, their pace slow. Street musicians played softly in the distance. I know you don't trust me, Raymond continued. And maybe you shouldn't, not yet. But trust the opportunity. It's not charity. You'll learn every step. And it's not just about money. It's about changing the way things are done. Maya stayed quiet, turning his words over in her mind. Part of her wanted to believe him. Part of her still wondered if there was a catch. What about my brother? She asked finally. Samuel's still in school. Can't take something that'll pull me too far away from him. That's part of the offer, Raymond said. I'll cover his tuition. And if you need flexible hours while you train, I'll make sure you have them. She stopped walking. You'd do that? Yes, he said simply. Because I know what it's like to fight for someone you love. For a moment, the city noise faded around them. Maya searched his face for any sign of pity, but found only sincerity. You should think about it, he added. And whatever you decide, I'll respect it. The next day, the whispers in the restaurant reached a fever pitch. She's going to take it. You can tell. Imagine going from waitress to running a billionaire's hotel. I bet it's more than just a job he's offering, someone snickered. Maya ignored them. But that night when she got home, she found an envelope slipped under her door. Inside was a simple typed note. Some doors only open once. I hope you walk through this one. RC folded with the note was a printed contract for a 1-year paid training program and a check already made out for Samuel's school fees. Maya sat at the table for a long time. 6 months later, the woman walking through the lobby of the Grand Cole Hotel didn't look like the waitress who once carried trays under crystal chandeliers. Maya wore a tailored navy suit, her hair neatly pulled back, a gold name badge pinned to her chest. Maya Carter, guest services manager. Guests turned toward her when she entered, not because she carried their plates, but because she carried authority. Her voice was calm but confident, her stride steady. Staff members moved with more energy when she passed. They respected her because she had once been one of them. The journey had not been easy. Her first month in training had been overwhelming. She'd had to learn everything from reservation systems to managing difficult guests. Some of the older staff doubted her. Others whispered that she had only gotten the job because Raymond liked her, but she kept working. Arriving early, staying late, and treating every person, guest, or employee exactly the same. The same respect she had once demanded, she now gave. Raymond visited the hotel often, sometimes to check on progress, sometimes just to observe quietly from a corner. He never interfered with her decisions. But when he saw her stand up for an employee against a rude guest, a faint smile would appear. Once, during a staff meeting, a senior manager challenged one of her suggestions, saying, "That's not how we've always done things." Maya's reply was steady. Then maybe it's time we stop doing things the way we've always done them. Raymond had leaned back in his chair that day, clearly proud. One evening, the hotel hosted a large charity gala. The ballroom was lit with chandeliers, music filled the air, and wealthy guests arrived in glittering gowns and tailored suits. The event raised funds for education programs in low-income neighborhoods, a cause Maya had personally chosen. As she moved through the crowd, ensuring everything ran smoothly, a familiar voice spoke behind her. "Not bad, Manager Carter." She turned to see Raymond wearing a classic black suit, a glass of sparkling water in his hand. "Trying to impress me?" she asked with a small smile. He shook his head. "Just enjoying watching you work. You've built something here." She glanced around at the bustling room, the smiling staff, the guests laughing over dinner. We've built it, she corrected. The gala went perfectly until. Near the end of the night, a young waiter stumbled while carrying a tray of drinks. A glass tipped over, spilling red wine onto the gown of an older woman who looked ready to explode. The waiter froze, face pale. The woman's voice rose. "Do you have any idea how much this dress costs?" The room went quiet. Maya stepped forward. Without hesitation, "I'm so sorry for the spill," she said calmly. "But your evening doesn't have to be ruined. We'll cover the cleaning costs, and I'll make sure dessert is on the house." The woman huffed, but eventually nodded, taking the napkin Maya offered. The young waiter's shoulders relaxed in relief as the music started again. Raymond approached her, a knowing look in his eyes. That was familiar. Maya's lips curved into a quiet smile. "Maybe I learned from the best, both the mistakes and the lessons." A week later, Samuel graduated from school. The ceremony was held in a crowded gymnasium filled with proud families. Maya sat near the front, clapping as her brother walked across the stage to receive his diploma. She hadn't told him. But the tuition check Raymond had written months ago had been the final push that made this day possible. As the applause died down, Maya felt a presence beside her. She turned to see Raymond, dressed simply, sitting in the audience. He didn't draw attention to himself. He just gave her a nod. When the ceremony ended, Samuel ran up to her. "We did it," he said, grinning. Maya hugged him tightly. "No, you did it. I just kept the lights on." Samuel glanced at Raymond and whispered, "Is that?" "Yes," Maya said. "That's the man who opened a door for me." Outside the school, as families posed for photos, Maya walked over to Raymond. The afternoon sun lit the lines of his face, making him look older, but softer. "You didn't have to come," she said.